Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third installment of my Speaking for Success podcast. I hope that you've had an opportunity to view the previous two and have enjoyed them. Next week, it will be an interview again, this time with past International President Jim Cacace. Just as a reminder, I'm doing this as a project for one of my paths, but also to show that it can be done, that the district will host the podcast if it's somehow related to Toastmasters. If you're interested in doing one, you should contact our program quality director, Crystal Cobb, to ask if she thinks it would be a suitable topic for the district to host. Today, I want to talk about not writing your speech. I hear from a lot of people, oh, I can't give a speech because I don't have time to write one. I want to suggest that you take the challenge of not writing your speech. First of all, let me make clear that not writing your speech is not the same as not preparing for your speech. I'm continually preparing for speeches. I don't know if I'll use a particular topic. I don't know when I'll use the particular topic. I don't know what project I might use it for. But I'm always thinking about things that I could potentially speak about. You never know where ideas will arise. Well, I still have a fairly good memory. It's not quite as good as it used to be. So I need to write down the ideas. I have a book, just a little scribbler that you can get at the dollar store or anywhere else. And when there's something that piques my interest, I will make a note in there. Sometimes it may only be a word or a phrase. Sometimes I might have some more ideas on it, and I'll jot down a couple of ideas just so that I don't forget what it was about. I might go back and say, no, that's not really going to make a good speech. But I have it there just in case. Just recently, I was out for a walk with another Toastmaster, and we got talking about the fact that both of us were accused of having RBF. And if you're not familiar with RBF, it's resting bitch face. And usually it's women who are told that they have it. I said, that would be a good topic for a speech. I did a bit of research on it, gave a speech, took my feedback, changed up my PowerPoint some, and structured my approach a little bit differently, gave another speech on it. 2 different speeches and 2 different projects. So you can use the same material in a different situation, but I'm really getting off track with that. I don't write my speeches for a number of reasons. I don't want to have to memorize because I'm bound to forget. And if you forget something, it tends to throw you off. For me, if I memorize something, I tend to give it as though I'm reading it. If I even just put it in an outline form, that I've written it and then put it in an outline form, I will give it as though I'm reading it. When I'm reading something, I have a tendency to read quickly. So therefore my speech is too quick. by not writing it, it gives me the flexibility to bring in things that perhaps have happened in the meeting that something, somebody said something just before I'm speaking, and then it may connect to what I'm saying, so I can incorporate that. If you're stuck to a script, it's much harder to do that. I just always feel more relaxed when I'm giving a speech that I have not written. Now, I know that may not be true for all of you, but you won't know until you try it. Once I get the idea and write it down, then when I have to do a speech, I can look through all of the ideas that I have. Maybe I've jotted down some other things that go with something, because then once you've got the basic idea down, when you've got some time, if you want to do some research on it, you can do that. You can jot down a few other thoughts just to give you the content. Again, it's not writing it, it's just putting down thoughts. Once you have that, then it becomes easier to start putting your speech together, even with fairly short notice. When I have a topic, I get thinking about it and I think, well, I could say this. And I start thinking about the order in which I could say things. I might practice certain phrases that I think would fit in that speech. It's all in my head. So in some ways, I am writing my speech. It's just I'm writing it up here and I'm not writing it on paper. Sometimes I have the speech all organized and it becomes a completely different speech when I get up to give it, because of something perhaps that has happened in the meeting, or there's a particular aspect that seems to be resonating with the audience. So I want to expand on that rather than things that I had thought I was going to say. Again, I have the flexibility to do that because I haven't written the speech. You just think about these ideas. You think about the main points that you want to say. What is it that you want your audience to know about the particular topic? What do you know when you first start off with it? What do you need to find out more about? You let it gel, you let it mull in your mind, and without you even realizing it, you start putting that speech together. You figure out the order, you figure out what your opening is going to be, what your body is, what your conclusion is. The one thing that I would advise you to be very clear on is what is your opening and also what your conclusion is. How are you going to get to that? Sometimes people will muddle around because they're not quite sure how to wrap things up. Make sure you know what that is. Doesn't mean you have to have written it down. You can write that down if you want, but that doesn't count as writing your speech. If those two parts are clear, then what's in between can vary. The more that you do this, the more that you get a sense of timing as well. Some people worry about the fact that they're not going to have the timing right unless they write every word out. If you're doing a speech in Toastmasters, does it really matter if the timing is a little bit off? It might not be great if you've asked for a 5 to 7 minute time and you talk for 20 minutes. I wouldn't advise that. But if you go 8 minutes, you learn from it. You learn how to get a sense of what the timing is. You learn how to change some of what you're going to say. Once that green light shows up and you know you only have 2 minutes left to wrap things up and you're not where you want to be, because it's not written, you have more flexibility in how you can adapt that ending and still finish without time. I have some people that marvel at the fact that I have a number of speeches that are 7 minutes and 30 seconds, or table topics that may be 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I've developed over time a sense of how long 30 seconds is without having to see it count down. Once that red light comes on, I know whether I'm going to wrap up in the 30 seconds. I can normally do that because I don't have it written. Sometimes I'll decide I will go over time just because there are certain things that I want to say, and I say, I'm going to do this. That's more important than my timing in this particular case. Remember, Toastmasters is an opportunity for us to experiment. I know we hear it's a safe place to fail, but Ted Corcoran said he considers it a place to experiment. And I think that's a great way of looking at it. If it doesn't work the first time you do it, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you learn from that experience. What do you need to do differently to make it work for you the next time? Maybe you will find that it's not for you. It may not be for everyone. I know, though, of people who have tried it largely because of my urging to do so, who have determined that, yes, this is kind of a good thing. They come across as more natural, more authentic when they do it without having written everything. Maybe you forget a particular word you want to use. Will that really make a difference with your audience? What's important is your connection with your audience and your ability to get your message across. I encourage you, take the challenge. Try giving a speech without writing it. Remember, I don't mean without preparing it. I mean without writing it and using that script. You may be amazed at the difference it makes in your speeches by doing that. If you do, I'd love to hear your comments. You can always email me. My email is on the district website. I'm sure most of you have seen emails from me that you would have it there. Contact me, let me know. I would be interested to hear your experience. Take the challenge. Don't write your speech. We'll see you next week with the interview with Jim Cacace.